Coffee in the closet. I should have like a podcast or a series going on with this. Grab your coffee, get in your closet, and talk with Mary Obasi. Because that's what we're doing today. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's good to have you back, and if you're new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And also check out my channel because I have very interesting content that is on Patreon due to censorship in a lot of social media. So you might want to check that out. As you can see, the background is my closet. I'm sitting in my closet. Yes, I am. So essentially, I really love talking about things, particularly deeper issues, more personal things in small spaces. I love my closet. I pray in my closet. I cry in my closet. I feel safe in closets, in like bathtubs. I know it's really weird. I have been through a lot. I like small spaces. It feels safe. So with that being said, we're going to talk in my closet because I figured I would be more myself on this channel. So if you guys have been riding with me for a while, been part of the Obasi posse, you know that I'm a survivor of domestic violence. I am a speaker on it. I promote different charities. I've been a big role player in the DV community, healing pre and post, and all these other things with domestic violence. I have been in abusive houses. I've been in abusive relationships. I kind of been there, done that more than once. And every October, since October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, I come here on my channel and I talk to you guys about different types of things relating to domestic violence or toxicity, abuse, stuff like that. So the video that I did last year, which I really enjoyed doing, and I got a lot of good responses on it. I still get DMs from particularly women, but some men, because men also do get abused. From that video, it was called Life After Abuse. So last year, it was 3 years out of DV, and this year will make 4. Crazy story though, which let me know in the comments below or like this video if you want a story time. I almost landed in another toxic relationship, but I got out quick enough, and it was just absolutely terrifying. Turned into a crazy stalker. I have a restraining order on this person. It is a very juicy story, and if you want to maybe get a story time on that, let me know, because I don't mind. Maybe it'll help you guys and be beneficial on real-time stories on how to kind of recognize early warning signs, because one of the things that I talk about in my life after abuse, and the men and women who watch this video who are now out of abuse and out of their toxic relationships or toxic environments. Again, this could be romantically, this could be with a friend, this could be with a business partner, this could be with a family member. It happens in all different shapes and forms. I have experienced it with both family and friends, or family and relationship. So one of the biggest things that I know, like those of you who are out of DV can relate to, is the fear of getting back in. So that's a big one for me. 4 years later, I am still struggling with making sure that I never miss a red flag. And it's almost, I caught myself last year, it was to the point where it's actually too toxic that I would assume everything was a red flag, and then I couldn't even be with literally anybody because everyone had a red flag. I couldn't gauge between what was a healthy argument. I couldn't gauge between what was a red flag versus what was just a natural character flaw, because there are differences, and these differences are really hard to define. But it's something that we struggle through. It is. It really is. 4 years ago, and I still struggle with it. I'm constantly trying to teach myself what's a red flag, what is a natural human response, and what is a natural human response in to that person, because other people go through different things. For example, I don't have natural human responses to certain things. For example, I remember one of my human responses to an argument, if I had an argument with somebody, my initial response would be to go hide money. That's not a normal thing. People don't, that's not like the first thing they think about. And that was a response to me because in my abusive relationship, I would get physically harmed and stolen from money. I kept money in the house, and I would always need to kind of hide it. and stuff like that. That was one of the scenarios that I went through. So naturally, when I felt that there was a storm brewing and an argument was about to happen, my initial instinct was to go find anything that I had that was valuable and hide it immediately. So when you're with somebody else, let's say you're now trying to get into a new relationship, it might be, you know, you or the person that you're in a relationship with now that isn't the abuser might have their own little, you know, responses. And we'll get into that in a different video if you guys want to hear about that. I haven't seen any YouTube videos on that. I don't even know what I would title that video. If you guys have any suggestions on what I could title that video for, like what you would search for that. But it's never talked about because we all know the red flags. We all have these ideas and these videos of 10 top signs of a narcissist, or 10 signs that you are entering an abusive relationship, or the domestic violence cycle, or, you know, you have all these things, but you don't have like real life scenarios and real things, and you definitely don't have any type of format as to what is a red flag and what is okay in that red flag, because it's very colorful. It is not a black and white thing, and there are so many gray areas, and it's all dependent on each person's walk of life. And that's something that you'll have to kind of really start to learn yourself and regain your intuition, regain and trust yourself and your judgment. And this happens with healing, and this takes a long time. I'm still healing from it. I'm still learning to trust myself, because what happens when you leave an abusive relationship is you don't trust yourself, because at the end of the day, you got yourself there. At the end of the day, you didn't leave quick enough. At the end of the day, you betrayed yourself. At the end of the day, you were taken from yourself because you were told so many things that weren't of you, that you actually started believing in them, and you just lost yourself completely. So to regain yourself, learn yourself, learn what you like, what you don't like, how you like to look, how you don't like to look, what you like in a person, what you don't like in a person, what you like about yourself, what you don't like about yourself. More importantly, learning what you do like about yourself, learning your strengths, because you were told and you were faced with your weaknesses every single day. So, to anyone who is watching this video who has not experienced an abusive relationship or understand the complexity with it, I would just like to tell everyone, and including those who have experienced it, that leaving is a hard part, but the aftermath of leaving is almost worse, if not definitely, and that lingers for years. So this is the second time recording this video. This video is not meant to depress you. That if you're going through this and you are maybe years after me or years before me in terms of the healing process, and you just feel like you're never gonna hit that mark where it seems to be like you are really healing, don't get frustrated with yourself. There are going to be days when you feel like absolute trash, that you feel worthless, you don't want to get up, you don't want to do any work, you don't want to work out, you want to eat like crap, you want to cry in bed, and you don't want to continue. I want you to know that we are so hard on ourselves, especially in a time where there's like this quarantine going on. It's depressing in general. And if you are in an abusive relationship, I did do a video actually in quarantine, because my first being a victim of abuse in both a family home and a relationship home, my first initial thought with quarantine was, oh my gosh, my heart goes out to all the kids who are getting abused or in toxic family environments, because they don't have anywhere to really run to. They don't have school, they don't have things to go to. And my heart goes out to the couples who are in abusive relationships, because they might not be able to kind of escape from that for a bit from work, and they're under the same roof, and it could just, you know, elevate the daily stresses of your life, which causes more abuse. And that's my initial thought, which is why I did a video on it. If you haven't seen it, check it out, because I did talk about it. But I want you to know that I go through days where I don't want to get out of bed, and I am so hard on myself, you guys. I talked about addiction in my in last year's video that a lot of women or men will kind of cope with a type of addiction, drug use, alcohol, etc. I never had a substance abuse addiction. It's never been an issue for me. It just, I can relate to literally so many things, and the one thing that I always say I can't relate about is like drug and alcohol abuse and addiction and stuff like that. But I do have a work addiction, I do have a perfection addiction, and I do have now, I think, I wouldn't say a workout addiction, I just say that I'm working out a lot and I love it, but also, and that's a whole other story, and I want to talk about it briefly because it's actually part of my healing process, and I'll explain why in a minute. But everyone has different addictions, right? And when you don't, or different ways to cope. My way to cope, which I've worked on a lot and now I'm okay, I've actually done a lot of healing this year, and quarantine actually, you know, helped me a lot with it, was I had a big work addiction, a big like money addiction, I guess. And quarantine really actually helped me, and I worked through a lot of that, and now I grew and I'm not like the same. And see, like, it'll happen when it's supposed to happen. You will reach parts of your growth when it's supposed to happen. So when you're laying in bed and you feel like you're not doing good enough, and you feel like you're not growing and healing fast enough, and you feel like it's just weighing on you and it's never going to go away, it will. This is not, I am a Christian. It doesn't matter if you're religious or not, but what, you know, whether you believe in God or whether you believe in the universe, what you want in your timing doesn't matter. It's God's timing, it's God's plan, it's what God wants. And again, if you're not religious, it's what the universe wants, it's the universe's plan, it's your soul chart, it's whatever you believe in. But for me, it wasn't, God is giving me what I can handle, and I have to take steps. And when you feel sad and when you feel like you're even maybe going backwards, just make sure that you don't marinate in it. Just make sure you don't quit. Rest, but don't quit. You know, fall, but get back up. This is going to happen a lot. This is going to happen through life. This is just normal. So I really want you guys to be understanding with the feelings that you have. So let's move on into partners. If you're out of abuse and you're healing, depending on how long you've been out of that toxic environment relationship for, I'm going to assume that you have either tried to date again, you are currently dating again, or you are on a promiscuous binge. All things are normal. There's no judgment here. I went through literally all the phases. So when I first left my abuser, I would say I went on a promiscuous binge. And what I mean by that is I went on 2 dating apps. I wanted to talk to other people. I wanted to kind of fill that void with other people. And I remember it was such a loss. Oh my gosh, it was such a loss, because I lost myself, I lost my dreams, I lost the person that I thought I loved and loved me, which was a complete delusion. It's embarrassing. I'm ashamed to say this, because it was such an illusion. It was such a devastating, betraying illusion that I lost the trust in myself. I couldn't believe that I betrayed myself and my mind and my heart to think that that was love. But I had to be kind to myself and a friend to myself and tell myself that I grew up with this treatment. I knew that to be love. And of course I landed in that because I didn't really know. And I knew there was something wrong, but I didn't know better. So when people say, oh, well, I didn't know, you would be like, well, you know it's not good to hit, or you know it's not good to try to burn someone's hair, or you know that, you know what I mean? You know that it's wrong, but it comes down to more complex detail where, yes, you may know it's wrong, but you don't know better. So if you don't know better, what exactly are you going to leave it for? For the same thing, different guy? Same thing, different girl? Same thing, different family? Because you don't know anything different. So there's some type of understanding there. Now, when you first leave, it's normal to go on this promiscuous binge. Again, it's not, and I'm not saying just sexually. I'm saying, you know, you wanted to date more, you wanted to talk more, you wanted more attention, you wanted to kind of redo your look, you wanted to break away from that person that was just so shattered, find your new self, change your look, invest more in yourself, go out and date, and all this is good. It's part of the healing process. I don't recommend being promiscuous in a sexual manner. A lot of bad things can happen with that, and we don't want that for you. It'll make the whole healing process just 10 times more difficult. You can end up pregnant, you can end up with an STD, you can end up just feeling bad about yourself, you can end up feeling guilty and shameful. There's a lot of just pain, and some people have these sex addictions to deal with the pain, and it's not something that I talk about often, but it is something that happens, so that's why I'm saying it. My particular case with my like promiscuous binge was I went on dating apps and I found a guy and I dated him like loyally right away, so I would consider him like a rebound. Now the problem with that from that like episode was that he was a better guy, but he wasn't a good guy, and he wasn't a good guy for me. And the reason why I say that is because I wasn't even healed. I was still in the same broken frequency, so of course I'm going to attract the same type of guy that has that. I'm not going to just instantly attract someone who is just so perfect for me. I was still growing, and mind you, I'm speaking from a younger standpoint to where I was, I think 20 or 21, and I was still learning myself as a woman. So I didn't even know myself, and I was so isolated, and I needed to learn myself. Whereas if you broke up, let's say, and you're 45 and you're very kind of solid in who you are, what you like and stuff, there's different age groups for these things as well. I just want to point that out there. Wasn't a good guy. Actually ended up making me feel like it actually relates to the codependency issue. 9 times out of 10, if you're in an abusive relationship, you have a codependency issue, meaning that a lot of times when you're codependent, now there are good parts about being codependent. A lot of mainstream gurus say that their codependency is an absolute negative word, and that's actually not true, and I can do a video on that too. But codependency is kind of like, going to a bar and drinking. It's okay to have a drink of wine or, a drink here and there, but it also opens the door to completely black out, and that's how I feel about codependency. So when you're codependent, you, instead of healing yourself, you try to find someone else that either needs fixing or that needs your love to give. You just want to keep like giving and feeling like you're contributing to something so you can be loved and receive that back. And when you go immediately into a rebound or relationship like that, then you don't find that time to invest in yourself. You don't invest in the healing that you need to do. And when you're healing, you're ugly, you're messy. Ugly meaning your inside is chaotic, not your outward appearance. Healing is an ugly, messy process. So when you are healing, it's gonna come out eventually. I don't care how you try to hide it. I don't care how much love you give to your rebound partner. I don't care. Healing is an ugly process, and although it can happen with your rebound, where your rebound is absolutely solid and great and understanding, and you guys are married for 40 years after that, that can definitely happen. I'm not knocking that, but it's rare that it happens. For me, it did not happen, and I was actually, looked at like I was crazy. He didn't understand my certain reactions. I was so battered that I would fear certain emojis because they would mean something before. I was absolutely not ready to date, but I didn't want to be so alone. It was so hard for me to be alone. I was very codependent in a pretty toxic way. Moving on to the next phase of healing that you can see yourself going through is being alone and kind of like isolating yourself. So that was me last year, a little bit of this year. I would see red flags so much that I didn't want anything to do with anyone. I didn't know how to argue. If you guys haven't seen my last video, that's where I was last year, so I'm not going to get into it. Basically, it was a big isolation thing. I didn't know how to argue because I was scared the argument would lead into something worse. I couldn't live with somebody. I couldn't form a solid, committed relationship, and nothing ever felt right. A month after I recorded that video, I actually was currently casually seeing a man. And that man actually turned out to be just very scary man, very cowardly, became a stalker, very sinister, just, oh my gosh, like Criminal Minds CSI stuff, like the mentality of this person's brain was just absolutely terrifying and not normal by any means. And I will do a story time if you guys want. There's a current restraining order against him, but he turned into a stalker. I'm pretty sure he still stalks me. He might even watch this video. I have no idea. But I am very much protected, and of course I won't say any names or anything like that, but I could do a story time because I was almost tricked again, and that's scary. And one of the things about leaving abuse and healing is you are so worried that you're going to be tricked again. And I say tricked because your abuser is always so charming and nice in the beginning. You guys, anyone who's like, well, why would you go with a guy who hits you, or why would you go with a woman who you know, calls you all these names and disrespects you? They are never like that in the beginning. I'm not that, come on, like, I'm not that dumb. We're not that dumb where, you know, like, I meet a guy, first day, it's like, whoosh, you know what I mean? I know this is not something to joke about, but sometimes you gotta laugh a little bit. So this guy, he was actually really charming. He was nice. He was just, you know, I felt like I could talk and open up to him about a lot. And the sad part is when you open up to somebody about something so soft and tender in your heart, that they go and do the same thing to you, if not worse. And my mind was blown, you guys. I had the worst Christmas, the worst end of my year. The restraining order took place, I think the 23rd of December, right before Christmas. I was shaking. I had to go to court, and he had a lawyer, and I did not have a lawyer, and I still won because I didn't do anything wrong, you know what I mean? This guy was just so crazy. And I realized, I kept saying to myself, how did I miss this? And the good thing is I got out quick. I got out quick. This all happened in the span of 2.5 to 3 months. This was a very quick thing. And sometimes that may happen to you in your healing process, where you actually can find yourself in the same situation. And sometimes that can happen to you as a test. And again, I'm religious. I do believe in God. I believe that there's a plan. I believe things happen for a reason. So I was like, okay, once this all, you know, was over and done with, I sat down with myself and I looked at myself and I said, okay, this was like God putting the same hole in front of me and seeing if I walked around it. And that's really how I viewed it. And I skirt on that hole, girl. I skirt. And I didn't go in that hole. And on top of avoiding the hole, I fought for myself. And it was a very scary thing, but I felt so liberated, and I felt so powerful, and I felt so proud of myself because I stood up and I said no when he was so relentless, making me feel like I couldn't win, like I was stupid and very blackmail-y and very just, oh my gosh, dirty, just dirty, foul character. And I was feeling so weak, and I still fought, and I just was so proud of myself. So if you want a story time on that, cool, I'll do it. Another, I remember too, one of the things that I wanted to mention, I went on a date, and this was during my promiscuous binge. I feel like that word has a negative connotation because maybe you guys are thinking that I had like so much sex with so many people, and that's not the case for me personally. If that's the case for you, there's no judgment here. I just really hope you stop doing that because that's not the way to go. I don't care what anyone says because that's like trending to be like promiscuous. I don't know how old all my viewers are. I tend to attract older people because I'm an old soul, but it's just stop sleeping around. Just don't sleep around during your healing phase. It's going to cause problems. One of the dates that I went on was this guy, right? And you constantly read something that I do constantly to keep reiterating to myself the red flags, keep noticing the red flags, and constantly putting yourself in check when you're talking to somebody, dating somebody, whatever. This guy that I went on a first date with, set up by my friend, showered me with gifts. Just showered me with gifts. I got a brand new pearl necklace. He rented out the whole restaurant. He gave me like this gift bag upon arrival and just showered me with gifts. I had they came and sang to me. It wasn't my birthday, it wasn't anniversary. They were like, oh, are you gonna propose? Like, and I'm just like, no, like this is my first date. I just met this guy. Blah, blah, blah. There's a whole story time behind it. I ended up leaving because I felt so uncomfortable, but the reason why I left will blow your mind. So if you want a story time on that too, I don't mind. But so there's all these, like, one of the things is like love bombing. Sorry if this video is all over the place. It really is a complex topic, and forgive me if I'm all over the place. Sometimes I feel like I'm not being as organized as I would like to be. So you may be experiencing things where you are isolating yourself because you don't know what the difference between what's a red flag and what's not. And something that I always do is intuition exercises and self-strengthening, self-trusting exercises. And I always refer to myself, because the person that is meant for you will typically be very similar to you on a very solid moral base, meaning that you are not going to date someone, and if you do, it won't work out. And I'm sorry, but it won't. You are not going to date someone who is a Satan worshiper when you are a worshiper of God. It just won't work. So when I say moral basis, like very brick hard, solid morals inside of you, I'm not saying, oh, well, I like cheeseburgers and he likes hot dogs. You know, I'm not saying something as simple as this. Like, that's normal. You're a different individual. But morals and values, wow, where was I going with that? So one of the self-check, self-trusting exercises I do is I always look at the person who I'm talking to or maybe dating and see, okay, would I do what they just did to me? Or would I react that way if I knew their past and their experiences? Would I react that way? Is this a time to be understanding, or is this a time to take a step back and have a bag packed in case you need to go? I mentioned in my previous video last year that I always loved with a bag packed. I was always ready to go because I would not stay with somebody. Any glimpse of anything that would endanger me or my soul or my heart, I was ready to go. And the sad thing is when you are a survivor of abuse, and when you're just a survivor of so many bad things, it doesn't have to be abuse, is you have such a tough exterior, but you are so soft inside, and that's the reason why you are so tough outside. And the common misconception is that people in your life think that you can handle a whole lot, when really you just have a tough demeanor, but you are actually very sensitive and soft, and you need to be catered to and loved in particular ways. And I don't want you to sacrifice the way that you need to be loved for someone you're dating. This is a time where you need to learn the division between healing yourself alone or healing with your partner, and if the partner is actually helping you heal, or if they're just making you feel worse at the end of the day and you feel like you're actually not good enough because they don't understand your experience. So I just feel like there's so many topics to go into on this. It's so deep, and I hope I touched on some of them, but I do just, the whole point of this video is to let you guys know that you will heal. Every day you are healing, and you don't realize it, you know, every day, but it happens. One of the things that I've done to heal this year that I haven't done years before was I really focused on healing my physical injuries from the stress, from the actual physical injuries, and I've done that through working out. In the previous years, it was all healing through diet and nutrition. This year was actually building muscle and building my body to be strong. So I've worked out consistently 4 to 5 days a week minimum every day since January. That was what I decided to stick to, and I'm proud to say that I actually have, and I've healed a lot of injuries. One of my biggest injuries from my abusive relationship that manifested via physical abuse, as well as stress manifesting into physical harm, which is a thing. I can get in a video with that, where you're actually so hyper vigilant, so stressed, so constantly tense that something's going to happen. Your body is in a state of constant stress where you actually manifest physical pain or physical injury. Okay, this happened to my lower back. And anytime that I actually do feel threatened or away, it actually acts up. So my back is very responsive to emotional stress and things like that. Not to mention I was actually physically harmed in several ways where that contributed to it. So my biggest step this year, 4 years later, was actually getting to the workout and healing myself. And I'm proud to say that I really don't have back pain. Like, sometimes it'll happen. I also had severe tendonitis in my knees, particularly my right knee, and I've healed that. I've gained a lot of muscle in my hamstrings and a lot of back muscle and just muscle. I've been really pumping some iron, so I'm really happy with my experience with that, and I can do a story time and talk about that and talk about how physical abuse or stress and stuff actually manifests into physical injury or ailments in your body, and how I went about healing it, because it took years and it took a lot of trial and error. It took a ton of reading. I read so many books, as you guys know, on this channel. And again, if you're new to this channel, please check out my other content. I actually post a lot of censored content on my Patreon, and I'm sure you guys will really like it and find interest in it. So that's one of the ways I heal. So I'm like really proud of myself about that. And I would love to hear, if you guys have been with me for a while, ways that you've seen yourself grow. What goals do you set for yourself? And more importantly, how to be a friend to yourself when you're not slamming your goals like you want to. That's normal. That's normal. Okay? It's very normal. In the early part of January, I think I worked out maybe twice a week. And it was hard for me. I got the momentum going. Now I do 4 to 5, no problem. So you got to give yourself time, and you got to give yourself pace. Don't look at other people and what they're doing. And everything is going to get better. Everything is going to get better. There are so many things to talk about, so I think I might overview this video and break it down in little things. And in the comments below, if you could just write titles of specific videos that you want me to go into detail more, I would love that. That would actually really help me decide how to break it down, because sometimes it feels so overwhelming in my head where I don't know how to put it out to you guys. I didn't cry in this video. I cried in my first round because Penny came in and I was saying how beneficial it was to have a dog or to have a pet. She has been here with me through all my breakdowns. I mean, she is such a solid friend, you know, and I know it sounds a little silly, like, oh, Mary, it's a dog. She has been such a strong supporter in my life, and just when I come home and I'm having a bad day, like, yes, I may be alone, but I'm coming home to a dog, then she absolutely loves me, and I love her, and animals teach you so much about life, and so much about love, you know, yeah. They really do. Like, she has taught me so much about what real, like, love and commitment and loyalty is. And I know it's a dog. Again, I'm not psychotic. But it's a really... She has been such a blessing in helping me heal. You just can't even get out of bed. I always get emotional on these videos, because my heart just goes so out. And I was saying how in my last video last year that I was actually so scared to even love my dog, in fear of losing her, and just in fear of the love and the isolation phase that comes with healing from abuse and betrayal and stuff like that, that I was actually so scared to love my dog. But I love her with all my heart. And this year I actually accepted her and accepted everything that comes with loving my dog. And she's taught me so much about real love. And animals are so precious because they really teach you things without saying anything, don't they? They just teach you so much about loyalty, love, and dedication, sweetness, and just forgiveness. And just, like, my dog is she's so awesome. You guys would love my dog. Her name is Penny, and she's a Rottweiler. If you are currently in an abusive relationship, know that it will be okay. And it's not going to seem okay for a long time. It's gonna be brutal. It is not a band-aid move. You are going to feel that peel off very slowly, and it's going to be painful. But you are going to make it through. You are going to do it. Before this quarantine stuff, I would do speeches. I did a women's empowerment event that I absolutely loved. I can post that speech as well for you guys on what it's like to know worth and stuff. I've done speeches and worked with charities for domestic violence. And I feel like I'm reaching a point in my life where I am very empowered, and there are still moments to this day that I am not okay, and that I do question people's intentions. I do look at their character very precisely, and it's something that you need to look out for yourself, because there are certain toxic traits that you can have and you can carry with you from your abusive relationship, and you don't want to be the toxic one. So just make sure you look at yourself too, and make sure that you understand that it's normal to feel all these things for as long as you need to. Just make sure that you make progressive steps forward. So if you feel 10 feelings, make sure next month you feel 9, or make sure next year you feel 9. Always move forward. I know we talked about a lot, and my heart goes out to anyone who is healing and struggling in a relationship. Feel free to DM me, email me. I'm happy to talk things through. I will update my DV playlist. I have a whole playlist of toxic traits, narcissism, toxic mothers, toxic family members, the cycle of abuse, my personal story. I have a whole bunch. I do need to update them because there's a lot I've learned over the years. I'm 25 years old now, so I've grown a lot mentally than I thought I could. So I will update those videos too for you guys. I hope you found some type of feeling that you're not alone, and that this brought you some type of company and friendship. Just know that everything will be okay, and everything does get better, and time is the best healer. Time is a precious gift. So I know that this was all over the place, but hopefully you guys understand what I was saying. I think I'm gonna start doing this though. I really like these. I felt so safe in here in my closet. Comment down below if you have been through like a lot and you like to be in small spaces. I pray in this closet, I cry in this closet, I sit in this closet, I marinate in here. I love my closet, and it's not because it's a closet, it's a small room. So if I didn't have this closet and I moved, it would be some different room. I also like my bathtub. It feels safe. So I don't know. Comment below if you guys are like that, if that's something that you picked up. I don't know. That's what I like. Embrace what you like. There's no harm in sitting in a closet. So anyway, I am Mary Obasi, and I will definitely talk to you guys in my next video. Make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I will see you guys later.